It's funny how deeply objectives are just built into our lives. So the moment you wake up, maybe look at a to-do list, to figuring out a career path, or even just planning a holiday. We're always setting targets, aren't we? It's sort of the default way we chase achievement. The unquestioned blueprint. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something really, well, pretty mind-bending, actually. It's based on this book, Why Greatness Cannot Be Planned, The Myth of the Objective, by Kenneth O, Stanley and Joel Lehman. And this isn't about just giving up on ambition or wandering aimlessly. Not at all. It's more about uncovering this really profound, kind of counterintuitive truth about how real breakthroughs and, yeah, even personal fulfillment often happen. So our mission today is to unpack the maybe surprising cost of just blindly chasing those big, ambitious objectives, and to explore an alternative path, one that the authors argue is often way more effective for reaching true greatness. Okay, let's get into this. Seriously, you look around and objectives are they're king everywhere.
Think about it. Kindergarten report cards, tracking milestones, magazine covers shouting, lose 15 pounds or make $1 million. So almost everything we think of as worth doing gets framed as this clear objective. It's that whole can-do culture, right? Define a goal, work hard, success follows. It feels optimistic. But as the book points out, there's maybe a hidden downside.
That's right. And while that objective-driven optimism feels good, on the surface, it often comes with a real cost, a hidden one. This mindset, it kind of pushes us into this endless loop of measuring things, metrics, targets. We get so focused on hitting the numbers that it can, accidentally limit our freedom to explore, to try new things, even just to playfully discover stuff. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What potential breakthroughs are we missing out on because we're holding on so tight to these predefined goals?
And just to be clear, the authors aren't saying, be pessimistic or give up on your dreams. Not at all. They actually believe human achievement is boundless, but they're highlighting a different path, a more maybe liberating one. So the core idea is our best ideas often pop up when we're not actually chasing them directly. That feels incredibly counterintuitive, though. Does this objective thing really affect everything?
Oh, absolutely. It's really pervasive across, almost every profession, every part of personal life. I mean, think about scientists. They need clear hypotheses, which are basically objectives, right, just to get funding. Or dating profiles asking what you're looking for explicitly. Even college applications, they tend to value purposeful hobbies over, just staring out the window, even if that staring is when you actually have your best ideas.
Yeah, some objectives are huge, really ambitious, curing cancer, creating human-level AI, maybe even time travel, who knows? We just naturally assume there's a direct line to get to these massive goals. The authors use this brilliant analogy, thinking of achievement as discovery inside this vast search space. And this space is full of what they call stepping stones. Picture like a giant room, just packed with trillions of possibilities, like every possible image you could ever make. Masterpieces are super rare and their future discoveries are just waiting. But here's the kicker. Why can't we just, walk straight to the most powerful computer design or the next Mona Lisa?
Right. Because the stepping stones, the things you need to find first to get to those big goals, they're often completely unknown. And not just unknown, but unpredictable beforehand. You literally have to stumble onto a stepping stone before you can even know it's useful for moving forward. And this is where they introduce this concept of the deception of objectives. It's a really core, counterintuitive idea. Basically, it's this. The steps leading to your biggest goals, they often look nothing like the goal itself. Zero resemblance. And history is just full of examples. Take vacuum tubes. They were invented to study electricity, radio waves. Nothing to do with computers. Yet, decades later, boom, they become a critical stepping stone for early computers like ENISC.
Wow, okay.
Or engines.
Yeah.
Developed for cars, factories. Airplanes weren't even on the radar, pardon the pun. But those engines were absolutely essential for the Wright brothers. And microwave tech came from radar magnetrons. The oven idea only sparked when Percy Spencer's chocolate bar melted in his pocket near one in 1946. Pure serendipity.
That paradox is it's striking, isn't it? The very thing you'd never think of doing if you were laser focused on your objective. That's often exactly what you needed to do. It's almost like the objective itself acts like blinders. It hides the true path to itself. If you're trying to invent a microwave oven, messing with radar tubes seems totally off track. And this isn't just some historical quirk, right? This deception is still happening now.
Exactly. And if you think about the wider implications, this idea really challenges a lot of what we do today. Like, in education, does pushing for higher test scores really lead to kids understanding subjects better? Or just getting better at taking tests?
Good question.
Or, is getting a higher salary always the straightest line to actual wealth? Or are there these other hidden stepping stones to financial security that we miss by just chasing the number? The metrics we use, the things that tell us we're making progress, they can be so deceptive because they often just don't see the real non-obvious stepping stones.
Which brings us to this idea they call victory for the aimless. It's fascinating. So many great things, big innovations, were never anyone's specific goal. Think about rock and roll music. It grew out of jazz, blues, gospel, country. Those are the stepping stones. But nobody sat down and said, okay, today I'm inventing rock and roll.
Yeah.
The concept just didn't exist yet.
Right.
Even Elvis Presley's sound. Apparently, it came about when he was just messing around during a recording session break. His guitar said he was just jumping around and acting the fool. Playful exploration. And you see this pattern in so many successful careers too, don't you? Johnny Depp started as a musician. John Grisham was a lawyer for years before a specific testimony sparked his first novel. J.K. Rowling, secretary, then English teacher, then Harry Potter.
Yeah, the patterns are rarely straight.
Haruki Murakami ran a jazz bar.
Yeah.
He thought that gave him the unique perspective for his writing. Even Colonel Sanders tried so many jobs before hitting on Kentucky Fried Chicken, selling it from his gas station.
What really stands out in all these stories is that success often shows up when it wasn't the main target. It wasn't the explicit objective. It's like that saying, love isn't something you find, love finds you. Hobbies picked just for fun can turn into huge stepping stones, like Nathan Sawaya, the corporate lawyer who became a full-time Lego artist.
I love his work.
Or Joseph Herscher with his amazing Rube Goldberg machines. Millions watch those. Businesses, too, they pivot all the time. YouTube was supposed to be a video dating site originally.
No way.
And Flickr started as just a small feature in an online game. Even Nintendo, founded way back in 1889, made playing cards. Then they tried taxis, instant rice, completely different things, before eventually, almost accidentally, stumbling into electronic toys and then, Super Mario.
Okay, so bringing this back home, what's the takeaway for us, for you listening? The message feels really liberating, actually. It's like you have permission to follow your interests, your gut feelings, even if they seem to pull you off your planned path.
Yeah.
Even if they conflict with some objective you set.
Exactly. You know a good stepping stone when you see one. You feel it's interesting. It opens up possibilities. Even if you can't logically explain where it leads, not everything needs that precise objective justification up front.
So trust that feeling when something seems interesting, even if it doesn't make immediate sense.
That's a big part of it, yeah.
Now, to really back this up, the authors didn't just rely on anecdotes. They built a scientific case. They created this really cool website and experiment called PickBreeder. So on this site, people could breed images online. You'd pick your favorites from a set. And those would become parents for the next generation, which had slight mutations, kind of like artificial DNA for pictures.
And the really clever part of PickBreeder was this branching feature. Anyone on the internet could take an image someone else had started and keep breeding it. This allowed for images to evolve over hundreds of generations, way beyond what one person could do alone. And through this process, people who weren't artists at all discovered these incredibly complex, meaningful images, things that look like a car or a skull, starting from just random colorful blobs, things nobody could have designed directly.
Right. And here's the truly astonishing part. When they tried using computer programs or even just telling human users, okay, your objective is to evolve this specific image like the Eiffel Tower or that car image, they failed. Consistently failed.
Yeah.
That PickBreeder car image, it was found totally by accident by Ken Stanley, one of the authors. He was trying to breed an alien face.
Huh, right.
Random mutations made the alien's eyes move down, and suddenly they looked like wheels. It was the perfect stepping stone, but completely unexpected. Came out of nowhere.
And this discovery really highlighted this idea of non-objective search processes, or maybe stepping stone collectors. Systems like PickBreeder or natural evolution itself, or even human innovation. They work by collecting stepping stones. Stepping stones that create the potential to find even more stepping stones. They don't head for one specific target. They sort of lead everywhere, opening up possibilities.
And to really nail this down scientifically, they developed novelty search. This is an AI algorithm programmed with only one goal. Seek novelty. Do something new. That's it. No other objective. They describe this experiment with a robot in a maze. At first, the robot just bumps into walls, because that's novel behavior.
Right, it hasn't done that before.
But once it's done, all the interesting ways of crashing, the only way left to find genuinely new behavior is to start avoiding the walls. And by exploring this space, trying not to repeat itself, It eventually has to go through the doorway to find new areas. The robot solved the maze really efficiently, but solving the maze was never, ever its objective.
And the results comparison. That's what really blew me away. Novelty search. Solved the maze 39 out of 40 times.
Wow.
Objective-based search, the one programmed specifically to reach the goal, succeeded only 3 times out of 40.
Only 3. Why so bad?
It kept getting stuck in cul-de-sacs, paths that looked like they were getting closer to the goal initially but were actually dead ends. Novelty search wasn't fooled by those false signals of progress, it just kept finding new things to do. And this wasn't just mazes. Novelty search also discovered how to make a 2-legged robot walk a stable bipedal gait. Again, walking was never the objective, just finding novel ways for the robot's joints to move.
So it shows that novelty search goes from simple to complex, not necessarily from worse to better, because better implies an objective it doesn't have. Instead, it encourages divergent search, exploring lots of different directions, rather than locking onto one path too early.
Exactly. It frees the search process from the potential deception of an objective. It aligns much better with how real creativity seems to work. Okay, so if this treasure hunter way of thinking works for individuals and even for AI, how does it challenge, the big systems like education, scientific funding, where objectives and consensus seem so important?
That's a huge question. Let's tackle education first. The book brings up something called Campbell's Law. It's a really powerful idea. Basically, when a social measure like a test score becomes the main objective, it gets corrupted. It starts to distort the very process it's supposed to measure.
Right, teaching to the test.
Exactly. Teaching to the test instead of aiming for real deep understanding. Kids might get better at the test, sure, but the score stops meaning what it was supposed to mean. It's like that GDP fetishism idea. Making GDP growth the ultimate national goal can lead to policies that boost numbers short-term but are terrible for the environment or society long-term.
Or the Cobra effect.
Ah, yes, the classic Cobra effect in British India. Pay people for dead cobras to reduce the population.
And people start breeding cobras just to collect the bounty. The incentive completely backfired. And this issue extends even to things that seem well-intentioned, like having uniform educational standards, Common Core, for example. The goal is equality, making sure all kids get a similar quality of education, which sounds good. But if that uniform standard acts like a broken compass, if the measure itself is flawed or deceptive, then everyone gets misled in the same way. It potentially stifles the diversity of approaches. It stops schools or states from exploring different ways of measuring success, different stepping stones in education itself. It's like forcing every pick breeder user to aim only for that skull image.
So the alternative they suggest is kind of a treasure hunt for teaching methods. Imagine teachers building portfolios of their innovative work, their curriculum ideas. And these get assessed by other teachers, by their peers, focusing on creativity and potential, not just standardized scores.
Like the Finnish system, maybe?
Exactly. Echoes of Finland's approach, promoting diverse methods, letting teachers learn from each other's stepping stones. It turns teaching into this collaborative exploration. Quality is still there through peer review, but there's freedom to innovate, to try things, to find genuinely new and better ways to help kids learn. Okay, shifting gears a bit. What about science? Scientific innovation, funding. Consensus seems really key there, right? Peer review.
Well, yes and no. Consensus and peer review can actually work against finding those truly novel stepping stones. Think about it. Scientists applying for grants might feel pressured to propose safe ideas, things they know reviewers will likely agree on.
The faded gray ideas, as the book calls them.
Precisely. Rather than proposing something really bold, maybe divisive, but potentially groundbreaking, it makes you wonder, should we sometimes value disagreement more? If a proposal really splits the experts, some love it, some hate it, maybe that's the one with revolutionary potential.
Like Darwin's theory initially.
Exactly. That was dismissed by many established experts at first. Unanimous praise might just mean it fits comfortably within the current box.
And the book notes how these huge objective-driven science projects, like Japan's big push for fifth-generation computers or the war on cancer, they often fail to meet their specific, stated goals. Or, if they succeed, it's often through unforeseen side benefits, not the main objective.
Right.
So it seems really short-sighted when politicians mock seemingly whimsical research like the famous shrimp on a treadmill study. Because history shows that seemingly useless pure math like group theory or the number theory behind modern cryptography often turns out to be absolutely critical later on in ways nobody could have predicted. It wasn't the objective.
predicting the future impact of research is it's notoriously unreliable. Importance itself can be a deceptive compass, guiding us towards the obvious rather than the truly novel. So funding science based purely on alignment with specific interests, like focusing only on immediate economic benefits, like Canada's National Research Council shift, it risks cutting off the very basic research that fuels those broader long-term discoveries. We just don't know which path leads to the biggest breakthroughs.
So the suggestion is maybe fund interestingness. Support researchers who have a proven track record of making interesting discoveries, like the MacArthur Geniuses grants do. Give them resources without demanding they specify exactly what world-changing objective they'll achieve beforehand.
Empower the treasure hunters, basically. Let them follow the interesting leads. And you see this in business innovation too, right? The real game changers. Tesla using laptop batteries for cars, Marcus Persson creating Minecraft, Steve Jobs and the iPad. They weren't necessarily working from some grand 50-year blueprint. They were looking at the nearby possibilities. What interesting stepping stones are available right now?
Like the Wright brothers, bicycle makers first.
Exactly. They saw airplanes as sort of bicycles in the sky. They recognized the existing technologies, engines, light materials that were the immediate stepping stones needed. They worked with what was possible then.
Even in art you see this.
Yeah.
Artistic movements. Impressionism paving the way for Expressionism, which led towards Surrealism. These huge shifts happened because the next step wasn't the initial objective of the artists involved.
They were exploring possibilities, reacting, finding new stepping stones.
And artists themselves often find it hard to justify their work with a clear purpose, don't they? It's almost a reflection of that societal pressure to have an objective for everything. Okay, so we've really explored how this myth of the objective can be like a mirage. It offers this illusion of control over reaching big goals. But ironically, that tight focus can actually lead us astray into deception and stagnation.
So wrapping this up, what does it all mean for you personally? As you're navigating your own life, your own ambitions, I think it means really embracing that treasure hunter mindset. Do things because they genuinely interest you, because they feel like a compelling next step, that subjective gut feeling. It's a valid guide. It's not something to just brush off as unscientific or irrational.
Right.
You don't always need some elaborate, logical justification for every impulse or every project you feel drawn to.
And true innovators, the book argues, they don't spend all their time gazing into the distant future with a rigid plan. They're focused much more on the edge of what's possible today. They're asking, okay, where can we get to from here? Not just how do we get there to that far-off, maybe illusory goal.
They concentrate on the present, noticing what's interesting, what's ripe for exploration right now. And maybe instead of judging every single activity by its immediate success potential, we should judge it more by its potential to spawn more projects, its potential to lead to more stepping stones.
Interesting. So does it open up new doors?
Exactly. The worst kind of stepping stone from this perspective is a dead end, one that leads nowhere beyond itself, even if it looks like progress towards an objective. And maybe we should value, even protect, disagreement and different approaches, because everyone exploring different paths, even paths that seem contradictory, that ultimately enriches the collective search. Someone else's weird detour today might just uncover the crucial stepping stone you need tomorrow.
Which leads us to the final provocative thought from the book. To achieve our highest goals, we must be willing to abandon them.